Once upon a time, there was a poor shoemaker. The Elves and the Shoemaker. There was once a good shoemaker who had become poor because business was so bad. Soon he had no material left but just enough leather to make one last pair of shoes. So one night he cut the shoes out, intending to make them the next day, and went to bed. In the morning, however, when the shoemaker went to start to work, he was amazed to find the shoes standing on his table, completely finished. They were perfectly made, with every stitch neatly in place, as if they had come from a master. The shoemaker did not know what to think. Just then, an important-looking customer came into the shop. "What a handsome pair of shoes!" he exclaimed as he tried them on. They fitted perfectly, so he bought them straight away and was so pleased with them that he paid double the usual price. The shoemaker used the money to buy more leather, and that night, before bedtime, he cut out 2 pairs of shoes. The next morning, wonder of wonders, 2 pairs of beautiful made shoes stood ready on his table, and people were already at the door, eager to buy them. And so it went on, night after night. What he had cut out in the evening was finished by next morning, each pair of shoes more perfect than the last. News of the wonderful shoes went round the town, and crowds of people came to queue outside the shop to buy them. Business was suddenly looking up, and eventually the shoemaker became quite wealthy. One night, the shoemaker and his wife decided to stay up to see who was helping them so generously. So they lit a candle and hid behind the door to watch. On the stroke of midnight, 2 little elves dressed in rags appeared in the room and settled down on the work table. They began to thread and sew, tap and hammer so nimbly that the shoemaker could barely believe his eyes. They did not stop until all the shoes were ready and left standing on the table. Then the 2 elves disappeared. The next morning, the wife said, "Those elves have made us rich. Let us show them how grateful we are. They must be cold in those rags. So I tell you what I'll do. I shall make them some smart, warm clothes to wear." The shoemaker agreed and said that for his part, he would make some shoes and hats. So they sat down and worked hard all day. When they had finished everything, the little shirts, waistcoats, jackets, trousers, stockings, shoes, and hats, they laid them out on the table and hid themselves to wait for the elves. On the stroke of midnight, the 2 little elves came bounding in, ready to work. But instead of the cut-out leather, they saw some smart little clothes laid out on the table. At first, they were astonished, but when they realized that these were presents from the shoemaker, the elves got dressed quickly and began to dance and skip all around the table for sheer joy. Then they burst into song. Now we are so smartly dressed, we'll give the cobbling work a rest. And so singing, they danced right out of the front door. From that time on, the elves came no more, but the shoemaker's shoes had become famous, and people flocked from far and wide to buy them, and he and his wife were never poor again.